let's switch focus to the Americans. Let's start with Sam Burns. I'll go first. D- for me, went 0-1-2. He was the worst U.S. player statistically. He was the best putter on the PGA Tour, ended up being second worst of any player on the greens. Not good.
Did not get a full point for the United States. I went with a D- as well. You pointed out last in strokes gained total. He seems like he had some good partners. He just didn't deliver.
Patrick Cantlay, I gave a C-, 1-3-1. Really gritty performance, both sessions on day one, but then turned around and lost both on Saturday when the Americans really needed him for a rally. Went all 5 sessions and only got 1.5 points out of it. Not ideal for Captain Keegan Bradley and Patrick Cantlay, who they were really depending on.
I'm going to get repetitive when it comes to the American team here. They needed more from their stars. They needed more from this specific star. To get 1 full point out of him just doesn't work. And he knows it. I'm sure in his heart of hearts, he realizes he did not perform for the team. He did not deliver what he needed to. D-.
Bryson DeChambeau for me was a B-. Certainly gave the Americans a spark. They used him a lot. Went all 5 sessions because of the golf course setup. I thought made a lot of sense. Couldn't quite pay it off. I think if the greens were firmer, could have been a different story for Bryson. Instead, he typically struggles with his spin control, was just ripping them off the front of the greens. Really gritty comeback in singles, erasing what had been a 5-down deficit on the front nine to Matt Fitzpatrick. So I'm going Bryson DeChambeau B- in all 5 sessions.
Wow, I'm really off on that one. You don't see eye to eye with you at all. C- on that one. He was the emotional.
YouTube leader. Commenters are just going to destroy you.
I know. I do not hate on Bryson DeChambeau. Trust me, I love watching him play golf. But C- is the best I can go. He was the emotional leader of this team, and we saw it over the course of 3 days that when he was maximum Bryson DeChambeau, that the crowd absolutely loved him. He brought the best out of them. But just to win one match, and the frustration that he showed sometimes, I just don't get it. I didn't have a chance to use this line earlier, so I'm going to use it now. He actually grinded and fought really hard for 0.5 point on Sunday to continue the Americans' chances. If he'd have given up that full point to the Europeans, I think it was over at that point. However, the mathematician missed the mark because by him only getting 0.5 in that match, it meant everyone else had to be perfect the rest of the way. I think the celebration was a little premature.
All right, Harris English. This one pains me. It was an F. Went 0-2 in singles, or excuse me, in foursomes. Keegan Bradley put him in the envelope. Did not play on Sunday. Got a 0.5 point out of it because of what happened with Victor Hovland. Not a good week. Fortunately, I had to give Harry an F.
And being in the envelope does not help. It's very uncomfortable. I never want to be a player in that situation. Certainly feel for Harris English. I was a little bit more kind. I gave him a D simply because I think the player he was paired with for the first 2 days, Colin Morikawa, was more the problem than he was. It was a bad matchup. So I give him a D.
Probably need to keep this moving a little bit more brief. Ben Griffin for me was a C-. Went 1-1. Didn't get another shot after his miserable outing in 4 balls, then won in singles in a match that didn't matter. Ben Griffin, C- in his rookie debut.
Didn't think he got the fair shake he needed to. I think he needed to get a couple more reps again, just play 2 matches for the entire week. I gave him a D+. He had the second worst strokes gained total for the entire tournament. So I don't think he performed the way we thought he was going to perform.
Russell Henley, another one that pains me. For me, this was an F as well. His length or lack thereof off the tee really cost him. His putter went cold with Scotty Scheffler. They couldn't figure out the odds and evens together. The caddies ended up having something that every analyst had talked about would have been beneficial for this team. He left 2 putts short, did Russell Henley, on 17 and 18. That really could have made a difference against Shane Lowry and really could have potentially turned the tide for the Americans. F. Really tough week for Russ.
And this is expectations, right? We thought he and Scotty were going to be the rock. We thought he and Scotty were going to be the ones that the Americans were going to turn to in foursomes when they needed them the most. They weren't there. D.
Colin Morikawa, a D for me as well. He was the worst putter on the golf course in the first 2 matches. Foursome specialist, not his best week.
I was even more harsh. I went with F. I simply think he was the problem with that Harris English mess. Let's just go ahead and call it that. And that seems to me where the U.S. team unraveled.
B+ for me for Xander Schauffele. I thought he was really one of the most pleasant surprises. Ended up thumping Jon Rahm in Sunday singles to at least give the Americans a shot. This is a player who I think a year ago you would have really depended on. Good to see Xander Schauffele play better than I think a lot of people anticipated.
This might be on the curve. I actually gave him an A simply because he was the biggest unknown coming in this. Had not played golf since the BMW Championship, so you had no idea what he was going to show up with. So I give him an A. Based largely, that was a huge singles win over John Rahm.
Tough one for me is Scotty Scheffler. I gave him a C- after going 1-4. He was the third best U.S. player through 2 days, but it wasn't good enough. His opponents went absolutely berserk against him, 34 birdies in 65 holes. They met the moment. Scotty Scheffler did not. He called it one of the lowest moments of his career. His teammates picked him up, ended up salvaging his week with a pillow fight victory against Rory McIlroy. So C- for Scotty.
You gave the world number one a C-, and he won just 1 point out of 5 opportunities. That is some kind stuff right there. I don't see it happening. I think the Sunday singles salvaged the week for him, but I gave him a D.
I went with B+ for both J.J. Spaun and Justin Thomas if we're keeping this movie. J.J. Spaun, the rookie, went birdie to be the lone bright spot for the Americans on Saturday. Justin Thomas continued to be the American spark plug, the guy who actually played with some passion.
That's surprising. J.J. Spaun was this version of Ian Poulter from Medina. Had he not done what he did, the Americans really had no chance going into Sunday. Him grinding out and getting that. He hit probably the 2 best iron shots coming down the stretch on Saturday on 17 and 18 just to give the Americans a chance. I gave him an A. Justin Thomas, he was emotional. He was a veteran leader. I went with C+.
I think you and I both agree with this one, so I'll wrap it up with Cam Young getting an A. Quite frankly, one of the few bright spots for the Americans, teamed really well with Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau, beat Justin Rose in singles. Arrow pointing up, the big hitter certainly seems poised for a 2026 breakthrough.